Welcome again to Father Paul's talk. Our reading today comes from St. John's Gospel, chapter 14, and we have these words. When I go, you will not be left all alone. I will come back to you. In a little while, the world will not see me, no more, but you will see me. Because I live, you also will live. Judas, not Judas Iscariot, said, Lord, how can it be that you will reveal yourself to us and not to the world? Jesus answered him, Whoever loves me will obey my teaching. My Father will love him, and my Father and I will come to him and live with him. Amen. In our life, have we ever wondered why it is that we have belief, we have faith, we have an experience of Jesus, God, in our life, where our friends, our family, people we work with, have no experience of God? That our lives, in that sense, are very different. Have you ever asked yourself, what needs to happen for someone to find God? What does someone need to do to be found by God? Have you ever thought about, for yourself, where do I need to go? What do I need to do to experience God, Jesus, as a living one, the living one, not one who we simply read about in the scriptures as some kind of historical figure or mythical figure for that matter, but someone who is truly living today. So we can truly experience those words that Jesus says in the gospel today, because I live, you live. So again, how do we explain this experience of knowing God, knowing that Jesus is alive when so many people don't? And how can people who don't know God find God? Or again, have you ever been in that situation when someone says to you, prove to me, show me that there is a God, that Jesus lives, and I will believe? And what do you say? In the gospel today, in the words of Jesus himself, in John's gospel, we find something very important that constitutes the answer, or the essence of the answer to these questions. Jesus says, if you love me, you will obey my commandments. And then he says, those who love me, those who will obey my commandments, the Father and I will come and make our home within them, within you. In other words, in answer to the question as to why it is that some people put their trust in God and others don't, and an answer to the question of if you don't put your trust in God, how can you put trust in God, and where do you go for proof? Jesus says the answer lies in love. When Jesus talks about obeying his commandment, he's talking about the commandment to love the Father in heaven and to love each other. In other words, if you want to see God, if you want God to be revealed to you, you need to set out on a journey seeking to love God. And it is only in loving God that God is revealed to us. And where do we go in that search? Jesus points to the truth that we do not need to climb high mountains. We do not need to go to the farthest ends of the earth or to the greatest depths of the sea for God to be revealed to us, for us to find God or to be found by God. Jesus says, I and the Father will come and dwell within you. In other words, if we are seeking to love God, if we are loving God, then God is within us, and that we are to seek God within us, within our own hearts, because that's where God is. When someone says to you, prove to me that Jesus exists, that Jesus is alive, you cannot give them any proof in that way. All you can say to them is, if you seek, if you search to love God, by looking within your own heart, God will reveal himself to you. You will see God. God will be made known to you. In other words, again, it's only those who are seeking to love God who can see God. It's only those who are seeking to love God are those who are able to experience God living today in Jesus Christ. Some of you will remember that famous painting. I think it's called The Light of the World. It's inspired by a passage in the first opening chapters of the book of Revelations, where it says, where Jesus speaks of himself, I am one who stands before the door and knock. It's a very famous painting, was done by a pre-Raphaelite painter, by Hunt, and the image of it is in St. Paul's Cathedral. One day someone says to the artist, I love your picture, I love your painting, but there is something not quite right with your painting. The artist says to the gentleman, sir, tell me what is wrong with your painting. Tell me what's wrong with my painting. And the person says, I see the figure, I see Jesus, I see him holding the light, I see him knocking at the door, but there's no handle. How can a door have no handle? And the artist replies that the handle is on the inside. The handle is on the inside. In other words, it's only us who can open the door to recognize who Jesus is. It's only us who can open the door of our hearts through seeking to love, so that Jesus can be revealed to us. In fact, in that passage I'm speaking about in Revelations, it actually says that. It said, Jesus says, those who open the door. In these last few weeks, I've been talking about the way in which we are to sit down with Jesus and to share with him our dreams and hopes and what's important. And this passage today, when Jesus talks about coming to make his home within our hearts, points to this same truth. And so I say to you again, the place where God is to be found is in your heart. If you want Jesus to reveal himself to you, you need to seek to love and to love him. And those who are close to you, who are searching or asking the questions, where do I find Jesus? Point them to their own hearts. Say to them, you can only experience who Jesus is. You can only see him if you are seeking to love. This is the answer Jesus would give. So may God bless you, guide you, and keep you in these coming days. May you search within your heart and find the bright morning star within you. And may that encourage you, give you strength to share God's love with others, that together we may dwell in his love forever. Amen.